Good morning, students. Today's topic of the lecture is intestinal protozoa. Aim of the class today: enumerate the pathogenic protozoa, life cycle, pathogenesis, and laboratory diagnosis of Entamoeba histolytica or Giardia lamblia. Question may be asked in exam: classify amoebae. Write about life cycle, pathogenesis, and laboratory diagnosis of Entamoeba histolytica. Short note may be Giardia lamblia and Trichomonas vaginalis. In classification, first I want to tell in last class we have discussed introduction of parasitology, features, general properties. The mainly just I want to revise in very short. Parasitology we classify into two groups: unicellular parasite and multicellular parasite. Unicellular, that is known as protozoa, and multicellular means helminths, known as metazoa. In unicellular also the parasite also classified into taxonomically details. Last class you have discussed. But they classify on the basis of morphological structure or identification on the basis of motile organelles. Those protozoa motile, protozoa means unicellular parasite. Protozoa motile with pseudopodia, that is known as amoeba. Some protozoa motile with flagella, known as flagellates. Some protozoa motile with cilia, known as ciliates. And some protozoa, they are non-motile, they are sporozoa. And each again they are present in the intestine as well as other than intestine, extra-intestinal protozoa. The today class is intestinal protozoa. In that habitat intestinal, extra-intestinal. Again those are presenting in intestine or in tissue. Some are pathogenic, some are commensal flora, non-pathogenic. So this is a classification that is medically important and clinically for me diagnostic important. Taxonomical, that is for the nomenclature. But to identify this classification very important. Ask in the exam, classify the parasite. The classify on the basis of when we diagnose the case to when we check the clinical specimen. Each one you have to rate the example, which are the amoeba pathogenic, which are the amoeba non-pathogenic, which are the flagellates are pathogenic, which are non-pathogenics. Already we have covered in last class. Intestinal protozoa or luminal protozoa, these are the more important examples are Entamoeba histolytica, Giardia lamblia, Trichomonas vaginalis, Balantidium coli, and Cryptosporidium parva. Again, Entamoeba histolytica, that is amoeba. Giardia, Trichomonas 2 and 3, these are flagellates. Fourth, Balantidium coli, that is ciliate, and Cryptosporidium parvum, that is a sporozoa. These are intestinal. Trichomonas, they mostly present in vagina and they may be cause urethritis. So these are the important intestinal protozoa. List is big, but these are the important, at least you have to remember. These are the examples. So today class is on intestinal protozoa. The first topic is amoeba. Again, to enumerate the amoeba pathogenic and non-pathogenic. Amoeba pathogenic mostly important is Entamoeba histolytica. Intestinal tissue we are not discussing, maybe next class. And non-pathogenic, they are big list. Why is the non-pathogenic important? Because all are present in the stool, in intestine. When we diagnose the case, we collect the stool. So we must know pathogenic, how we differentiate from non-pathogenic when we give the report. So what are the structure of pathogenic means Entamoeba histolytica, how we differ from non-pathogenic amoeba. So what are the non-pathogenic amoeba? Just like Entamoeba coli, Endolimax nana, Dianthema fragilis, and Idomema buscae. These are the non-pathogenic amoeba. And Entamoeba histolytica, that is pathogenic amoeba. Again, morphological structure, both are very important because when we diagnose or when we observe the protozoa means amoeba in stool, we must know it is a pathogenic or non-pathogenic. If it pathogenic, it must report and we have to give the treatment. In non-pathogenic, there is a commensal flora, it is a present and it is not a pathogenic amoeba, no need to give the treatment to the patient. So what is the importance of pathogen, non-pathogenic medical? That is to identify. So Entamoeba histolytica, that is pathogenic intestinal, mostly primary infection intestine, and Entamoeba histolytica intestinal protozoa. Morphology, this exists in two forms. Again, The topic we're discussing mostly in the four heading. One is the morphology, second is life cycle, third is pathogenesis, and last one is the laboratory diagnosis. And in very short, treatment and prophylaxis. Morphology, life cycle, pathogenesis, laboratory diagnosis. Morphology, Entaim histolytica present in two forms, propozoite and cyst form. Maxima all the protozoa present either in the propozoite or cyst form. Some are in the both cyst and propozoite. Cyst, it is a resting stage, and propozoite is the active stage or multiplying stage in this Entaim histolytica. Propozoite, it is a size of 20 to 30 micrometer. It is cytoplasm divided into endoplasm and ectoplasm. Ectoplasm, it is important role in the formation of pseudopodia. Pseudopodia, it is the organ of locomotion for amoeba. Endoplasm, that is present inside, and there is a uninucleated propozoite. Nucleus has 2 to 4 micrometer size, and in the center, this is the center that is known as karyosome, and this is the nucleus. This is the ectoplasm, and this is the endoplasm. Then this ectoplasm form the pseudopodia, endoplasm enter into the pseudopodia. So this is the structure of Entaim histolytica propozoite. Again, what is importance of propozoite? Propozoite indicate replicative form. It's present in the stool that indicate amoeba is multiplying in the host, active stage. So it is a acute infection or active infection. This is the propozoite, and this is a cyst. Cyst, it is a form in the colon, and it is a propozoite convert to cyst. One propozoite convert to one cyst. One cyst convert to four propozoite. It is a quadrinucleated cyst. So these uninucleated cyst may be formed in the intestine, sometimes quadrinucleated. Maximum this uninucleated cyst passes with the stool and mature in the soil in the quadrinucleated cyst. Cyst is having a cyst wall resist. It is resist to the chlorination as well as to the gastric juices, so they survive and they're not able to kill in stomach with acidic pH. Uninucleated cyst and quadrinucleated cyst. Uninucleated cyst and propozoite is non-infective. Quadrinucleated cyst is infective. Size is 12 to 15 micrometer, spherical shape, uninucleated to quadrinucleated, not more than 4 nuclei. To compare to other non-pathogenic amoeba, that Entamoeba coli, it is 8 nuclei, octanucleated cyst. Again, uninucleated cyst, suppose you observe there is a one center white structure that is known as glycogen mass. This is black color rod that is known as chromatide bar. And when they develop, this is a nutrition material in the glycogen. When the cyst is developed in a mature cyst, that is a quadrinucleated cyst, that time chromatide bar and glycogen mass is utilized or disappear. So when this uninucleated cyst passes with the stool in the soil, they convert into or they mature into quadrinucleated cyst. Uninucleated cyst and propozoite is a non-infective. If a contamination of food and ingestion, so it is not able to set the infection in the new host. Only quadrinucleated cyst get ingested by the another person, then only able to transmit the infection in the new host. So this is the structure, what is size, what is the shape, and different parts of the parasitic form. The propozoite 15 to 30 micrometer in diameter, motile form, it is replicative stage, motile form. Cyst is a spherical set 12 to 15 micrometer. Cytoplasm contains not staining chromatide bar, rounded end, 4 to 4 nucleate. It is a uninucleate to quadrinucleated, and central karyosome. Nuclear. Second part is life cycle. Life cycle, what is the route of entry, mode of transmission, agent host interaction, and mode of how they transmit the infection in the community. They complete the life cycle. So we start from ingestion quadrinucleated cyst till quadrinucleated cyst. That is a life cycle. The first stage, quadrinucleated cyst only infective form. Propozoite and uninucleated cyst is non-infective. Quadrinucleated cyst may contaminate the food and water. So many things we ingested by raw, like nimbu sharbat, salad, so many things, contamination of food and water. Maybe the housefly, that is a mechanical vector, it transmits the fecal material to the food, and it also act as a vector to transmit the infection. Whatever may be the mode of transmission, but ingestion is a mode. When the contamination food with the Entamoeba histolytica quadrinucleated cyst, we ingest, the quadrinucleated cyst regists to the gastric juices. So they survive. And when they enter into the intestine, then these cysts all get digested, and these quadrinucleated cysts release 8 trophocyte amoebulae, 4 into 2 metacyclic division, and they convert it to metacystic 4 or 8 amoebulae, that is 8 trophocyte. Then trophocyte multiply by binary fission, 1 के 2, 2 के 4. In that way they multiply and they set the infection in new host. 90% they are asymptomatic due to the tolerance or due to the immune system or due to the genetic makeup of the immune system or body. They're not able to set the infection. 90% asymptomatic. Only they pass the cyst in the stool. But the 10% they clinically manifest as amoebiasis, amoebic dysentery. But we are discussing life cycle now. Pathogenesis we will discuss in detail. The trophocyte they multiply in the binary fission, that is known as excistation. Cyst convert into trophocyte. That stage is known as excistation. This is second step, excistation. Cyst convert to trophocyte. How? Again MCQ question. One cyst convert into 8 trophocyte. Release 8 trophocyte. Then trophocyte multiply by binary fission and they set the infection. After, when they passes to the colon, this trophocyte, when they enter into the colon, or when the tolerance develop in the immune system in the host, again the trophocyte convert into cyst, that is known as encystation. In encystation, trophocyte first convert into uninucleated cyst, and uninucleated cyst it mature into quadrinucleated cyst. Sometimes it mature inside the host, but sometimes if the uninucleated cyst passes with the stool, that they mature in the soil, quadrinucleated cyst. And this quadrinucleated cyst again contaminate the food and they transmit the infection to the other host. The life cycle is very simple. There is no other host is required. Only definitely only one host. So simple life cycle. When we require 2 hosts, that is complex life cycle. But there is no 2 hosts. Man is the only the host. And the 4 steps again I repeat: ingestion of the quadrinucleated cyst. Second step is excistation. Excistation, multiplication of trophocyte. Third stage, that is the binary fission. Fourth, encystation. Trophocyte convert into cyst. Each trophocyte convert to one cyst. And maturation of cyst. Maturation is either inside the host or in the soil. And this quadrinucleated cyst again contaminate the food and repeat the cycle. So this is the simple life cycle, easy to understand. No need to go in detail. Then pathogenesis. Pathogenesis, when we again discuss, first remember 4 important points. One is infective form. Second, mode of transmission. Third, route of entry, and site is site of localization, habitat. कहाँ से आता है, कहाँ जाता है और कहाँ infection set करता है. The infective form is quadrinucleated cyst. First 4 points right first. Then you again start from source. Maybe points get repeat, but at least these are 4 important points at least you have to mention first when we start the pathogenesis. The infective form is the quadrinucleated cyst. Mode of transmission, contamination, food and water. Route of entry, mostly ingestion. And fourth is site of localization, large intestine. Source, man is the carrier, is the source. Those are the patient having amoebiasis, they passes the cyst in the stool. The stool is the source. Carrier, these are only passes the cyst without any clinical presentation. 90% become carrier. They passes the cyst in the stool, and that is also act as a source. In amoebiasis, man is only the source, and contamination food, that is the mode of transmission. Route of entry through ingestion. Infective form, quadrinucleated cyst. Site of localization, large intestine. Agent host interaction. Incubation period 1 week to 4 weeks, and clinical presentation inward amoebiasis, intestinal amoebiasis and extraintestinal amoebiasis. The agent host interaction, this is the life cycle steps: source, mode of entry, infective form, and site of localization. When this trophocytes multiply in large intestine, the trophocytes secrete some substances that is toxic, and they form the ulcer in the surface of colon. Due to ulcer, there is a breakage of capillary, so extravasation are in the lumen, there is a transmission of bleeding or RBC in the stool. So stool contain mucus and blood with fecal material, that is known as dysentery. When the stool having only water-like present, that is known as watery diarrhea or gastroenterocolitis. This is the dysentery. Dysentery, that is semi-solid stool, not watery stool, semi-solid stool. And why semi-solid stool? Due to the action of proposit. What action of proposit? This secretes some substance that cause the ulcer. Ulcer matlab there is a breakage of the superficial layer of the intestine. Mostly, maximum ulcer are superficial and there is a mild form presentation. It is known as intestinal amoebiosis. Mild form of intestinal amoebiosis. A characteristic ulcer they form, and that is known as flask-shaped ulcer. With the picture we can observe in vision. When they propose a multiply, they secrete some break the surface material and they enter into the muscular core, muscular mucosa, maximum ulcer. Size pinhead, small to inch ulcer. 1 inch ulcer also they can cause, depend on host. Ulcer characteristic ulcer is a flask-shaped ulcer. That is the end is a narrow and base is broad. That's like a flask. It is again important part you have to remember. Flask-shaped ulcer. This is a flask-shaped amoebic ulcer. And due to this destruction, there is a breakage of capillaries, so bleeding there is, and there is excessive secretion of mucus. So patient present with fecal material, with blood, with mucous material, that is known as dysentery, amoebic dysentery. That's the mild present, mild intestinal amoebiosis. These lesions heal without scar. But sometimes this ulcer is maybe severe form and they invade the whole muscular layer of intestine. Such deep ulcer, they heal with scar formation. Superficial ulcer heal without scar, they pinpoint to small size. But sometime in some host, these ulcer may be bigger size 1 inch and also the depth of the ulcer length is more. They invade whole muscle layer and that cause severe form of intestinal amoebiosis and ulcer heal with scar formation. Clinical presentation already I told that is semi-solid stool with blood and mucus. Most important point again foul smell. When we ask the history, there is a foul because there is some other condition also cause dysentery, just like a bacillary dysentery caused by Shigella in bacteria. Bacillary dysentery, amoebic dysentery, Ballantyre dysentery. This condition may be caused by other agent. In that way, this whole smell that indicate it is the case of amoebic dysentery. And again, sometimes patient there is alternate. Sometimes there is a constipation. Constipation again there is a dysentery. Again constipation in chronic cases. So this is the constipation with dysentery that indicate it is maybe the maximum chances in India, developing country, it is the amoebiosis. Again, we have to check the stool for confirm the diagnosis. This is the second part. It's extra-intestinal amoebiosis. Amoebiosis divided into two groups: intestinal amoebiosis and intra-intestinal amoebiosis. Most important part of extra-intestinal amoebiosis is amoebic liver abscess. How it developed? Already I told in this figure, if in some time in some host, they with amoebic dysentery, they cross the tropocyte muscle layer, deep ulcer. But in some cases, not only muscle layer, they cross all the layer of the intestine and they enter into the portal circulation in small intestine. Sometimes in some host, maximum they multiply in the large intestine. Ulcer mostly large intestine, but in some cases, there is maybe the cross all the layer of the intestine, they enter into the portal circulation. Propocytes. It means propocytes because multiplying stage is only propocyte. The cyst is a resting stage. When they want to pass it out of the body, then they convert into cyst in the large intestine and they mature into soil. What are the damage occur in the intestine? It is only by the propocyte. So these propocytes, when they multiply and they form the ulcer, they break all the layer of the intestine, they enter into the portal circulation. Portal circulation, first organ of filter is liver. So these propocyte bigger size 20 to 30 micrometer, they entrap into the capillaries of the liver. Due to entrap, there is ischemic necrosis, not supply that particular area of blood to the liver tissue. So there is a damage that is known as ischemic necrosis. Due to ischemic necrosis, there is formation of abscess. So this is the pathophysiology of amoebic liver abscess, extra-intestinal amoebiosis. Tropocytes enter into the portal circulation. Why? How? Already I have explained. In portal circulation, they enter into the liver. Liver is the first organ of filter. But capillaries, the purpose is bigger inside, they entrap into the capillaries. So they block the capillaries. So there is a blood supply, the particular site is blocked. So there is ischemic oxygen supply, that particular tissue is decreased. So there is ischemic necrosis. In severe form, the ischemic necrosis, formation of tissue destruction, Due to tissue destruction increasing the population layer, and then there is the develop the cyst, means like abscess. There is no amoebic liver abscess. This is pathogenesis, how the amoebic liver abscess develop, how the mechanism. Clinical presentation, now the site of infection is the liver. Maximum site is a right lobe, right side of the liver. So it is a right hypochondrial pain. One, there is a swelling and tenderness. That is a presentation, fever, nausea, and vomiting, because this abscess may be pressure to the diaphragm, and we can know that there is a nauseated feeling and vomiting. The right hypochondrial patient giving the history 3 months before, they need maybe the amoebic dysentery, not amoebic dysentery at a time, same time develop extra intestinal amoebiosis. No, because it takes time to develop the abscess. When the proposed enter to portal circulation, they enter into the liver, and then develop slowly destruction, develop the after 3 months. My patient give the history 3 months before he had amoebic dysentery or some dysentery, then automatically it is subsided after taking treatment, and after 3 months I'm having complaints of the related with the liver. So it is a amoebic liver abscess. Complications. Now just think there is a abscess in the liver. So what will happen? Then the day by day, it will increase in size. After that, what are the neighboring structure? It get damaged or involvement. Suppose the right hypochondrial right side abscess anteriorly. So when it breaks, it formed amoebic cutis, matlab skin involvement. They rupture into the skin, anterior side and the involvement of the skin, so known as amoebiosis cutis or amoebic cutis. Sometimes they rupture into the upper part, the diaphragm, so subphrenic abscess. Sometimes again they damage and enter into the pleural cavity, so they mean the pleuritis, lung abscess. Anywhere it can break. In below, suppose it break inferior vena cava or peritonitis, peritoneal cavity. Left side, they may be enter into an involvement of the stomach, gastric. So it is a hematomesis. Then the pus convert to the by omitting from mouth hematomesis. Pus is the anchovy-sauce pus, thick pus, just like a sauce. Why the sauce pus? And it is a gray color, not a purulent or yellowish color. Why? Because no presence of pus cells. Again, I'm telling, pus without pus cells. Pus, it is necrotic tissue of the liver and exudate material. So it is without any pus cells and multiplying trophocytes. No cyst formation. Cyst only form in the intestine, not in the tissue. In Entago histolytica. So clinical presentation, anchovy-sauce pus, thick pus like a sauce-like. Okay, it is when we observe the microscopy, there is no pus cells because ischemic necrosis, no blood supply, no neutrophil enter at the site of infection. Dead neutrophil means pus cells, so no involvement of neutrophils. So that is one of the again diagnostic part in the labo diagnosis when we observe the pus without pus cell, anchovy-sauce, and it is chances of amoebic liver abscess. And when we, because proportion not present in the pus in center side, when we last drop of the abscess, when we drain, last drop when coming from the layer of the cavity. So that time there is a multiplying trophocytes may be present. The last 3 or 4 drops when we check properly, that we observe the motile trophocytes, absence of cyst. That is when we write the diagnosis. These are the steps you have to consider. Macroscopic matlab naked eye appearance. What is this? Microscopic, only trophocyte, no cyst, and no pus cells. Okay, 5 to 10% these are having a amoebiosis. They develop the liver abscess. 90% asymptomatic. 10% they be mild intestinal amoebiosis. Out of that, again 5 to 10% it chronic amoebiosis. They develop the liver abscess. Okay, just summarize again. I repeat what are the points we have covered. One is amoebiosis, acute amoebic dysentery, frequent dysentery with necrotic mucosa and abdominal pain, flask-shaped ulcer in colonic mucosa. All point we have here, the ulcer due to necrosis, so mucus formation and bleeding, flask-shaped ulcer. Extraintestinal liver, amoebic liver abscess, maybe in lung and brain abscess also, if the circulation enter into the circulation. Asymptomatic carrier state, already told, 90% people only known as carrier. They transmit the infection, no clinical presentation. 10% develop intestinal amoebiosis. Out of 10%, again 2 to 10% develop extraintestinal amoebic liver abscess. Amoeboma, the chronic condition, tumor-like lesions they develop in the large intestine that is known as oma, means tumor-like lesions, amoeboma. Sometimes gangrene of colon, whole colon get ischemic necrosis or gangrene. In severe form of amoebiasis, very rare. Immunocompromised condition. Those are people's immunocompromised. It's a severe form of amoebic intestinal amoebiasis we observe. Sometime ask an exam how we differentiate amoebic dysentery and bacillary dysentery. All the table given in book, please read. Important point only I am taking. One, in amoebic dysentery, the offensive smell, whole smell, stool, stool line. In bacillary dysentery, odorless, no smell. Dark red, bright red. Blood and mucus, but some fecal material present. Blood and mucus or no fecal material present. In adhere to the seat, the adherence. It adhere. It very rarely adhere, not sticky. One important point, tenesmus again. We forgot here, not mentioned. Tenesmus. Tenesmus means the before defecation there is pain in abdomen, most common in the bacillary dysentery. Tenesmus. Tenesmus absent amoebic dysentery. You remember something with logically. In RBC present in clumps, discrete. Pus cells, scanty, many, because they're both in ulcer formation. But amoebic dysentery, most inflammatory cell is the eosinophil. Parasitic infection, phagocytic cell, most into eosinophils. In bacterial, most important cell inflammatory phagocytic cell is neutrophil. So pus cells more in bacillary dysentery, absent in amoebic dysentery. Second, eosinophils are present more, here few. Just reverse. Eosinophil in parasitic infection, pus cells in bacterial infection. That's why when we do the DLC, differential leukocyte count, neutrophil, lymphocyte, eosinophil, and monocyte, we observe already first MBBS you have performed that exercise. So what is the importance of eosinophil? Eosinophil indicates allergic condition or parasitic infection. So that's again I'm telling here also can observe eosinophils more number in amoebic dysentery. And very direct diagnosis, if you observe the propocyte or cyst in stool, that is the parasitic infection that we can't observe there. Again, charcoal leaden crystals. Why is the charcoal leaden crystal present in amoebic dysentery, absent in bacillary dysentery? Why? Charcoal leaden crystal derived from eosinophils. Metabolic product of eosinophil is charcoal leaden crystal. Diamond shaped crystals easily we can observe in the stool indicate there is parasitic infection, one of the amoebic dysentery. And again here, motile bacteria. Motile bacteria, most of the time we confuse bacteria, maybe bacillary dysentery. Bacillary dysentery caused by Shigella. Shigella is non-motile. The when bacillary dysentery stool, when you examine, motile bacteria mostly absent. Motile bacteria present in the dysentery, it indicate maybe chances is the amoebic dysentery. Motile bacteria mostly E. coli commensal flora. E. coli commensal flora is most in the amoebic dysentery. E. coli is replaced by Shigella in bacillary dysentery. So Shigella is non-motile. Again, I am telling motile bacteria present indicate amoebic dysentery. Motile bacteria absent indicate bacillary dysentery, and confirmed by the observation of trophocytes and cysts, and in bacillary dysentery by culture. Now, laboratory diagnosis. This is about the pathogenesis. Before I'm going to the case again, I want to summarize all the points. Morphology, cyst and trophocyte form. What is size, shape, and structure? What is the medical importance? Is it multiplying stage and causative from the ulcer causing by trophocyte. Cyst the resting stage but infective form. Transmit the infection to the other. Life cycle, it is simple life cycle. Chordonucleated cells inside the host through the contamination of food. In the large or small intestine or large intestine, it's called excistation. Excistation, they convert into trophocyte, release trophocyte, trophocyte multiplying by binary fission, set the infection. When they pass to the large intestine, they convert into the cyst, means the premature cyst, not the uninucleated cyst. They get mature cyst into the outside or inside the host in quadrinucleated cells, and again quadrinucleated cells repeat the cycle. The quadrinucleated cells, excistation, multiplication of trophocytes, encystation, and maturation of cyst. This is life cycle. Pathogenesis, source of infection, mode of transmission, route of entry. Then multiplying trophocytes secrete some substances that cause homozynes, that is damage the layer of the intestinal wall and cause classic ulcer, mild form to major size, severe form. And the clinical presentation with fecal associated with the blood and mucus, but not adhere to the sheet. Whole smell. This is intestinal amoebiasis. Extraintestinal amoebic liver abscess. What is the pathophysiology? How the trophocyte cross the layer of the intestine, a proper circulation, entrap into the capillary, ischemic nephrosis, liver abscess formation. Then clinical presentation and complications. Now, laboratory diagnosis. The lab diagnosis, intestinal amoebiosis, we collect the stool, and extraintestinal amoebiosis, we collect the pus from abscess. Ideally. Now, clinical case, suppose a 28-year-old male presented with low-grade fever, loss of appetite, and pain in right upper quadrant since 15 days. Liver involvement. 3 months back, before 3 months, he suffered from dysentery. Physical examination revealed an enlarged liver, hepatomegaly. Blood picture shows leukocytosis but raised eosinophils. The eosinophils, when we raise with such report we receive, the chances are it's an explosion of bacterial infection. Eosinophils, dysentery, liver involvement, so maybe chances maybe liver abscess. CT scan show there is a cyst lesion. This is a cyst lesion. Cavitary lesion, black color. This is a cyst lesion we observe. So what is a provisional diagnosis? You have to write and how it get confirmed. I will take a lecture. Maybe some points I cover, some points you have to read from book. I will give some. I will after the class. I will send one Word document that is having some questions, small questions. Just revise it, write an answer, and send me today or tomorrow. No problem. Those will I receive the answers by tomorrow. I will give that answer. What is provisional diagnosis? How it get confirmed? That you try to write. This question again, 10 to 15 minutes. I take another class on Saturday. That the questions I will explain. Answer of the questions I will explain. Okay. The laboratory diagnosis amoebiosis type intestinal, we collect the stool and observe the trophocyte. In the liver aspirate, we observe the trophocyte and Covisa. Stool, we can observe the cyst also, but no in the cyst, only trophocytes. Only trophocytes. It's okay. In detail, when we write write to detail. The laboratory diagnosis, what specimen of collect? Stool. Stool, what are the preparation of stool? Wet mount. कौन से? Saline mount and iodine mount. कैसे saline mount करते? Write procedure already you have covered in introduction of parasitology. Saline mount, write two line. What is the important saline mount? Motility of the trophocyte. Iodine mount, iodine is a disinfectant, so they kills the trophocyte, no motility. Iodine mount, we observe the nuclear characteristics. By the help of nuclear characteristics only we can differentiate it is Entahistolytica or other species, commensal flora or non-pathogenic amoeba. Just like this is a karyosome, is a central karyosome. This is a whole is a nucleus, blue color, blue ring, nucleus, and in the center dot, that is a karyosome. The karyosome in the center in this parasite. In other commensal flora, it may be other side, eccentric, maybe more other shape. This is a spherical shape, nucleus 2 to 4 micron, karyosome in the center. That is the observation. So this is this nucleus better study in iodine mount. So what is the importance of saline amount? Only motile structure. If we observe the motile structure in the stool, the indicated trophocyte, it is active stage. So it is an active form infection in the host. It indicates active infection. Cyst only present indicates cyst passer or chronic infection. Or is a cyst passer only, asymptomatic cases. Sometimes we screen the stool in some people. Ovine cyst. The routine investigation stool. So when we observe such a cyst, it is a carrier, but also need a treatment because it transmits the infection to the others. Minimum 3 stool sample consecutive 3 days we have to examine. And suppose we are not getting, we suspect it is a amoebiosis, but we are not getting the parasitic form in the stool, then maybe they are scanty. So through scanty, to overcome this problem, we go the concentration method. Sedimentation technique, most important because cyst doesn't float, so flotation technique is not important. In the cyst, when we are to observe, because when due to sedimentation, there is a already trophocytes not able to see, only cyst we can observe, thermal ether sedimentation technique. Again, we after the sedimentation technique in detail, you read because already cover or you read form in detail. Formal the sedimentation. The sediment again we take and do the iodine mount and observe the cyst. When we do the concentration method, when we suspect it is a case of amoebiosis, after 3 stool examination, we are not getting the parasitic form in the stool. Why? Then we are maybe scanty. Due to scanty, they concentrate in one point at the bottom of the tube. After this method, which method? Formal ether sedimentation technique. Sedimentation method, they deposit at the bottom. Flotation matlab they float on the surface of the tube. There are two different methods. It's sedimentation method. When they deposit all the supernatant we discard and take a one drop or one loop from the sediment and we observe the cyst in the iodine mount. So this is the sedimentation technique. Non-pathogenic amoebae, this is Entamoeba histolytica. Most important again, they call Entamoeba coli. This is the non-pathogenic amoebae. The just differentiating features I'm telling. This is the trophozoite of size. They also trophozoite. It is a no ectoplasm and endoplasm. Pseudopodia slugishly motile, not compared to the it's actively motile. Again, it is a uninucleated cyst to octanucleated cyst. Cyst is more larger in size. 8 nuclei present compared to the Entamoeba histolytica quadrinucleated. Again, if you compare the uninucleated cyst, so there is again it is central karyosome, that is the eccentric karyosome. Karyosome जो है न्यूक्लियस के बीच में जो पॉइंट है karyosome, this is in the center, this karyosome, this end point, it not in the exact in the center, it is eccentric in Entamoeba coli. Third differentiating feature, larger in size, cyst is larger in size. Fourth, this chromatide bar, they are rounded end, there are filamentous end, straight, just like a झाड़ू straight रहते हैं, इसमें rounded रहते हैं, dumbbell shape. So that is the differentiating features. Size, uninucleated, octanucleated, eccentric chromosome, sluggishly motile, and chromatide bar are filamentous. Why it again important? Entamoeba coli we diagnose, no need to treatment, is commensal flora or it is a non-pathogenic amoeba. Entamoeba histolytica, it is pathogenic amoeba. So we need to differentiate from non-pathogenic amoeba. Treatment, tissue and luminary metronidazole, tinidazole, anti-protozoal drugs, detail in pharmacology, but at least you remember the name metronidazole and tinidazole, dextrofuran and nitroxafuran. Prevention, personal hygiene, safe drinking water, protection of food and water for contamination, avoid use of raw vegetable and fruits. What is the life cycle? If you check the life cycle, break the life cycle. Again, we can prevention, we can detect the carrier. That is also we can detect the carrier and treat the carrier. Carrier बंद होंगे तो source of infection कम हो जाएगा. We detect the patient and give the treatment. Mass survey, and this is the personal protection. This is the prevention, personal protection only. So we check the all the steps of life cycle. That is nothing but the prevention. If you know the life cycle, you can write the prevention. Okay. The second part is in short. I want to finish Giardia lamblia. The quick amoeba is over. That is the Entamoeba histolytica, life cycle, morphology, pathogenesis, and laboratory diagnosis. Giardia lamblia is a flagellate, and it is tennis racket shape, dorsal surface convex, ventral surface concave with sucking disc, falling leaf-like motility. These are the important points. Shape is 20 to 30 micrometer and width is 10 to 15 micrometer. Again, cyst, it is a 15 to 20 micrometer and width is 7 to 14 micrometer. Quadrinucleated cyst. This structure is beautiful. It is a flagella, 4 pairs of flagella, and this is the center that is known as axonium. This is the axonium. These are the 4 pairs of flagella, 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are the binucleated trophozoite, and this is multiplying stage. It is a characteristic motility. It is flagellate. It is motile, falling leaf-like motility. When we observe the stool, this is also present is a Giardia lamblia. Another name is Giardia duodenale. So they habit in the duodenum. So they again passes with the stool some trophozoite and cyst. So when we pass in the stool, we observe the falling leaf-like motility. जैसे पत्ते गिरते हैं पेड़ के वैसे वो दिखते हैं स्टूल में falling leaf-like motility. No need to explain, just like entire histological life cycle is the same. Only cyst convert trophozoite. Trophozoite habitat is the duodenum, small intestine, and they convert into cyst in the when they passes in the large intestine, they convert cyst and cyst passes with the stool. They contaminate the water and cycle is repeat. Simple life cycle. Cyst to trophozoite, trophozoite to cyst. Infective form is quadrinucleated cyst here also. Diagnostic part, both are present in the stool, cyst as well as trophozoite. Pathogenesis. Pathogenesis, they cause the diarrhea without blood and without thick mucus. They are present fat and some mucus with watery diarrhea. or sometimes there is a fat present in steatorrhea because malabsorption is there. When they attach to duodenum, they not invade the intestinal wall. There is a mechanical only irritation. Due to mechanical irritation, because they feed on the mucus. Mucus उनका food है. They feed on the mucus, so they excessive mucus secretion. They only attach to the with the sucking disc. They attach to the epithelial layer of the duodenum, and there is only irritation. Due to irritation, the excessive secretion of the mucus, malabsorption, because when the excessive secretion of mucus, there is a malabsorption. Due to malabsorption and excessive mucus, they passes with the stool. The stool is having the fat with mucus, and sometimes the watery stool also. Very mild clinical presentation and flatulence, nauseated and vomiting feeling because it's a duodenum indigestion. Duodenum, that irritation and indigestion. That's why the feeling is nauseated feeling. Lab diagnosis: giardiasis, specimen stool and duodenal aspirate. Sometimes they very rarely present the stool because they multiplying at the duodenum. Very few passes in the large intestine. They convert to cyst. Very few number. So maximum time they are present in the duodenum. That is the right specimen we have to collect to confirm the diagnosis in one sample. In the stool, you have to collect 4 to 5 samples. Most of them we miss the case. The stool, that is also for duodenal aspiration. Not if on duodenal aspiration, there is one other thing, entero test. Another technique, that is entero test, gelatin capsule technique. What is entero test? Entero test, this gelatin capsule, there is one thread is there. That thread we stick on the cheek, and person will allow to swallow the capsule. That thread having the length up to when they swallow, it goes up to only the duodenum. We keep half an 1 hour, and then the thread it, take it out, wash in the saline, and then we observe the saline under the microscope. We observe the trophocytes. So that is known as entero string test. If you want to remember, entero string test. Sometimes the exam is entero test. When it is entero string test. Again, I repeat, this one capsule we give the person to swallow. They having a thread, one end of the thread attached to the cheek, another thread with the capsule enter into the duodenum by swallowing. In the duodenum, we keep 1 hour. So, what are the multiplying trophocytes that adhere to the duodenum? They attach to the string. Then, with that thread is take out and squeeze into the saline and observe under the microscope that saline. So, we observe the trophocytes. Microscopy cyst in the feces, trophocyte in duodenal aspirate. Because when this trophocyte passes with the intestine, they convert into cyst, resting stage, because they want to transmit the infection to others. With proposite passes the stool, they will get die. So they, before they transmit the stool, they convert into the cyst. Treatment: metronidazole and tinidazole. Prevention: same as the amoebiosis. So this is a falling leaf-like motility. So when we get the maximum number of trophocytes in the specimen, so just like we observe all these trophocytes, just like a falling leaf-like motility when we observe saline. Balantidium coli, it is largest ciliate. We make a short note, read it, largest protozoa, large intestine habitat, and it called Balantial dysentery. Sometimes which are the protozoa cause dysentery? The one amoebic dysentery, second is the Balantial dysentery. Amoeba is motile with the pseudopodia, it motile with the ciliate. Only the one example of ciliate in CQ also. Largest protozoa, Balantidium coli. Example of ciliate, Balantidium coli. What is cause? Balantial dysentery. And this is the structure. Trichomonas vaginalis, no cyst form, only trophocyte. No cyst, only trophocyte. Sexually transmitted disease. Which protozoa associate with sexually transmitted disease? Trichomonas vaginalis. Men are usually asymptomatic because it's vaginalis, mostly it causes the vaginitis and purulent discharge, vaginal discharge. It is one of the differential diagnosis of bacterial vaginosis because vaginal discharge may be caused by candida, may be caused by bacteria. So to diagnosis, we observe the discharge. And when we observe these trophocytes, motile trophocyte in the vaginal discharge, so we diagnose the case. Diagnosis: demonstration of trophocyte in wet film, Giemsa staining smear also. Treatment: metronidazole. Cryptosporidium parvum, it is a sporozoa. Last slide. Sporozoa, it is also the watery diarrhea, most important role in HIV patient. The which protozoa causing infection in HIV patient? Intestinal protozoa, that is Cryptosporidium parvum. Intestinal, I word. Intestinal protozoa. Other protozoa may cause, that is Toxoplasma and other. But Cryptosporidium parvum, that is intestinal sporozoa associated with the chronic diarrhea in HIV patient. diagnosed by modified Jaden staining method. Trichomonas vaginalis, Cryptosporidium parvum, Balantidium coli. Please you make a five points. If asked the short note, you should not miss. Okay. Thank you. I will send the 10 questions after the lecture. Please complete it, take a photograph and send me on my WhatsApp number to get the attendance. Thank you.